Hey guys, it's Adrian over at BHA again. Thought I'd do a follow-up video on the Flair smart vents. So I did this one, last week or so, and kind of showcased a little product review on the setup for the Flair vents, but I didn't really get a chance to configure them into Home Assistant. I couldn't find an easy way to do that right away. I was really hoping there was an actual integration, or at least a custom integration for Home Assistant, but I couldn't find one. So it's kind of strange. So we went back and did some digging a little bit further and found a few various things that were set up for Home Assistant. Somebody has created a Has add-on if you're using Has.io. I'm currently not, because I run my Home Assistant setup in Docker, so that wasn't going to work. But I did find an MQTT Docker container that's designed to run off of a Python script that somebody created for OpenHAB. And since it's in Python, it pretty much will work with anything. So I was able to set up the Docker container and basically configure all that for Home Assistant. And that's what we're going to look at here. So let's check it out. So here's the GitHub page that this is kind of built off of. And I'll have all the links in the description below so that you can check all these out for yourself. But as you can see, this script will go basically connect in and pull all of your information from your puck and your smart vents and basically send it to some sort of MQTT broker. And of course, then from that, you can attach that to Home Assistant through MQTT and create sensors and switches or covers, whatever you want to do with it. We're going to go through some of the various things that we could do with that here. As you can see, this is the Docker container that I found that works with it, and we're going to kind of check this out and get this built out and see what all we can do with it. Here we go. So we'll go ahead and do a quick run through of everything we're going to cover in this video. So of course, for starters, we'll go over some prerequisites that you need. Not a whole lot there with this particular setup, but we'll run through them anyway. Once we do that, then of course we're going to install the Flair to MQTT Docker container. Once that's installed, then we're going to add some sensors into Home Assistant just to kind of show you how you can do it. After that, we will add a couple of covers into Home Assistant on how we can open and close our vents from there. And then, of course, lastly, I'll just kind of show you what that looks like in action. So let's get started. So basically, you will need an API username and secret or password or whatever from Flair. As you can see here, you'll email this email address listed here. Make sure you list your Flair email address in there. They will basically reply with a form that you have to fill out to apply for the API key, and then of course, assuming you get approved, they'll send it back to you. Besides that, the only other prerequisite that we really need is you need your house ID, which you can get from your login for the Flair account. So if you go to my.flair.co and log in with your username and password, the end of the URL, once you're fully logged in, has the house ID listed there. So you can, of course, just copy that down somewhere because you're going to use it for the rest of the setup. Once we have both of those, then of course we're ready to move on to the next step, and let's get that Docker container installed. I do install all my Docker containers with docker-compose. So of course we'll be editing my docker-compose.yaml file here. We're going to find an open spot down here towards the bottom. As you can see, I've already got mine installed, but we'll go ahead and run through the setup as far as what all the configuration is. So I called mine Flair to MQTT Again, you can call yours whatever you want. Set the container name to be Flair 2 MQTT as well. For the image, this is the image for the Docker container. So it's mlebaugh / Flair vents 2 MQTT. We'll set the restart to always. And then, of course, here's where we're going to list out all of our environment variables and stuff we need to configure this for our Flair setup. So, of course, you'll list out your house ID here that we just copied down earlier in the prerequisites. Assuming you got your API information from Flair, then, of course, you'll add your client ID and your client secret here. And then if you have any MQTT information other than just the standard defaults, then, of course, this is where we'll add those as well. Just to show you how that works, I added in my MQTT broker. I have a username and password set up for mine. If you do, you'll need to list that here as well. You can list the MQTT port if you want. By default, it should be 1883, but I went ahead and added it here anyway. And then lastly, the MQTT topic that you want this to publish all of the information to. By default, it is set to openhab/sensors. So of course, I changed it to be has/sensors for my setup. Once we have all this information in there, we can go ahead and save it. At this point, we'll just do a sudo docker-compose up-d to install the Docker container. And of course, I've already got mine installed, so it's not going to do anything right here. But we'll go ahead and jump over to portainer and just take a look at that and show you that everything looks like it's working pretty well. And as you can see, everything looks like it's running. Everything looks good. We'll go ahead and hit the logs here. And as you can see, it's already publishing data in the logs. So I think at this point, we're doing pretty good. And we can go ahead and move on to the next step and get some sensors added into Home Assistant. Now we're going to run through a couple of examples here for sensors, but as you can see from all the data listed here in the example, there's tons of stuff that published to this MQTT topic, and of course you can create sensors and stuff for any of these. So basically, but we're going to run through a couple of examples. Any of these would work though, so just going to point that out to start off with. So I'm going to edit my sensors.yaml file here, and I'm basically just going to add in 2 battery sensors to monitor the battery status for both of the vents that I have installed. So of course I've already got them added here, but we'll go ahead and walk through it. And I'll have all this in the description below so that you can just copy and paste it. The platform, of course, is MQTT. For the names, I just called mine Game Room Vent 1 Battery and Game Room Vent 2 Battery, respectively. The state topics, basically, you can pull it from the example if you want and just modify it to your whatever the name of your vents are. For me, it's has/sensors because that was the topic that I set up. And then, of course, it adds /Flair/vent right after that. And then the 2 vents that I have set up, Game Room-2B22, which is whatever name it gave it by default, /bat_% for the first one. And then, of course, Game Room/4423/bat_% for the second vent. You can go ahead and set the unit of measurement if you want. I set mine to just be the % symbol. And that should be all we need for these sensors. And again, this was just to kind of give you an idea of what you could do. You could set sensors for any of the other stuff if you wanted. If you want to monitor the temperature of the room from the puck, you can do that as well. Once we have all that in there, we'll go ahead and save it. And of course, we're going to jump over to the next step and we'll add the covers to be able to control the vents and open and close them and stuff from Home Assistant as well. All right, so here we are. We're going to edit my covers.yaml file here. And of course, I've already got them added, but we'll walk through everything here as well. Again, I'll have it all in the description so that you can copy and paste it. But basically calling mine game room vent 1 and game room vent 2. So basically I've listed out the command topic here, the set position topic, the position topic. So basically one is to set the position and one is just to monitor the status of the position. The availability topic to determine whether or not the events are online or not. And then of course I just set QoS to 2 because it's not super high priority. Retain will be set to true. For the payload open, I made sure that 100 is listed as the open and 0 is listed as the close. And then of course for payload availability, the payload underscore available is set to true as well. Did that for both vents. Once we have all that in there, we can go ahead and save it. And then you're going to jump over to the web interface of Home Assistant. We'll do a check configuration to make sure everything looks good. Assuming it does, then of course we can restart Home Assistant for the changes to take effect. We'll give it a few minutes to come back up, and then we'll jump over to that last step and we're going to see it in action. All right, so on the left side here, I just have Home Assistant's web interface pulled up, and as you can see down towards the bottom, I have the 2 vent covers that are set up, as well as the battery status sensors for both of those. And we're just gonna go ahead and kind of click on one of these just to show you that it works. And I don't know if you remember correctly or not, but there was a delay in how the Flair app controlled the vents. That delay is still gonna be here, so that part won't change. But we at least want to see that we can actually control it from within Home Assistant. All right, so in Home Assistant, we will close the vent. And of course, like I said, it'll take it a little bit. I'll speed it up here just slightly so that you're not waiting around for it. But as you can see, it does actually close the vent. So that's what we wanted. So now we have full functionality of our Flair devices in Home Assistant using MQTT. Pretty sweet. Basically, I think all this can be set up with some sort of integration. Hopefully somebody else will take the time to do that. I certainly don't have the time to do that myself, but I do think that it's possible to have a full integration for these Flair devices utilizing the API and maybe even MQTT to get that working. In the meantime, this will get you going to be able to control those devices in Home Assistant. Again, if you haven't had a chance, jump over to Flair's website. I'll have it in the description below. Check out everything that they have to offer and see what types of vents that you could get for your home. As always, I want to thank everybody for donating to my Buy Me a Coffee link. Every little bit helps. If you haven't had a chance, jump over to Teespring and check out all of my Burns home automation merchandise. Also, if you're still looking for VPN service, definitely check out IPVanish. I have the link in the description below. Jump over to their page, see what they have to offer as well, because they offer a great VPN service. If you liked the video, please subscribe to my channel. If you have any questions or comments, hit me up in the comments below. As always, if there are any videos out there that you would like to see that I don't already have out there, let me know in the comments as well, and I'll see if I can't get something put together for you guys. Otherwise, I'll see you guys around. Thanks.